Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stream. It's going to be a tournament train today, by which I mean we're playing in a 15-minute tournament on chess.com. With every move you get another 10 seconds, so it's 15 plus 10. And the tournament's going to start in a few minutes' time. And I thought before the tournament begins, it might be a good idea just to warm up a little bit with one or two puzzles, depending on how many we can actually solve in that time. So welcome, and let's get into it. This is continuing the puzzle streak from yesterday, so this is the 20th puzzle in the streak. And it's white to move. White to move here. Black's looking quite menacing with this pawn here on d3, coming this way, and also with the queen here. Possibly thinking about moves such as this, if our rook were ever to move away. You know, like if we were to come here to try and attack the pawn, then there's a nice check, which picks up our rook, so we don't want to fall into any of those kinds of traps. Meanwhile, you know, we have this check, but it looks like he can just take our queen. We also have this check, but he can just take our rook in a variety of ways. So there's no obvious real attack for us. So the question is, what do we do? If there's no, potential checks or captures, we have to look at threats. Now here's a possible threat. And the threat with making this move, the threat would be to go check, king has to move, and then this check, giving the queen up by force, and landing the rook here with the back rake, checkmate. So if we play this move, firstly, he can't put his queen here to check us because our rook takes, and if he takes back with his pawn, we take, and it's a queen versus a rook, so that'd be fine for us. So I think here he doesn't have time to threaten our rook, or which threatens to promote. He doesn't have time to do that because, quite simply, like I said, not that check but this check, pushing the king away, and then this check would be mate. So after this, it really puts the ball in his court. He can't attack our queen because then we just take with a checkmate immediately. And quite frankly, I don't see really much anything better. I don't see anything better, so I think that's what I would play. And he does play this way, giving us the queen. That way the game goes on, but we're definitely better in the ensuing play. Now, rather than continuing on, do we have time? Let me just see. We've got about just over a minute, so yep, we can actually continue on with this puzzle. And let me just see if there's anyone in the chat, because I continually miss my chat notifications when I'm streaming. It'd be nice to have a way for the chat to notify me that someone has said something, but I'll just keep checking the chat intermittently. Now here we are in this position. Again, white to move. And again, black has some pressure. It looks like they're creating a threat of bringing the queen down here, although they could have already done that on the previous move. It's not like it would be a mate. We would have a few options there, but we also have this move, which looks very, very inviting because it comes with a check against the king, and also an attack against the queen. So the only way there for the queen to save itself would be to block the line of the check, which it can do here or here. Now, of those two squares, the better square would be this one, because if it uses this square, then this bishop comes up, and we use the bishop to pin the queen directly to the king and win. Whereas, if the queen is here, then when we bring the bishop up, this knight can come here and sacrifice itself. But the moment the knight comes in, we simply take the knight anyway, and then we're still going to be winning the queen. So I don't think there's any downside to playing this move. It's a check, so he's forced to respond, and then we're going to get the queen. And he does it in this way, so we bring the bishop up. And there we go. So let's probably now leave that there and, get ready to play, because, in fact, we're on. This is the first game of the tournament. So let's play. I'm going to start with e4. We're playing against a 1600 rated player. And look, one of the things I really want to focus on today is speed. And I'll elaborate on that in a moment. I just want to choose which opening I'm going to play. Do you know what I'm going to play? I'm going to play a Scotch. I'm going to play a Scotch. In fact, I'm going to play a Scotch Gambit if given a chance. Okay, he takes. Let's play the Scotch Gambit. What I mean when I say I want to focus on speed is, I think if you've watched my channel, and even if you haven't, one of the things I've noticed about my own play is that I tend to suffer, I think, from what I would call analysis paralysis. Now, this move, h6, I don't think is necessarily typical. Now, of course, I can simply take the pawn, but I can also castle here, which is probably fine. So that's what I'm going to castle. I'm not going to go into paralysis analysis or analysis paralysis. Instead, I'm going to try really to focus on trusting my instincts when it comes to what's called evaluation. Okay, but again, I'm going to focus firstly on my moves. Typically, when the knight comes out to f6 in the Scotch Gambit, which is also the typical square for the knight to come out to, typically you do pretty much play e5 and try to dislodge this knight. And once that happens, the typical response is this, attacking the bishop, and then the bishop moves here, and then this knight comes here. So those are certainly possibilities, but the difference is normally this move h6 has not been played, and instead what is normally played, if I think about it, would be e4, e5, and I'll go back. What's normally played is e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, d4, e takes, bishop comes out, and then immediately the knight coming here, and then this, e5, d5, bishop comes here, knight comes here. It's a lot of arrows, but essentially the difference is, compared to where we are now, we've got this pawn here on h6, and this king is castled. That's the difference. So the fact that I'm castled could be a good thing, because it means my rook can very easily come here. It means my rook can very easily come there. So if I play this, what happens if he takes, or if he plays the normal line, or d5? What if I then take this? He takes here, but then I have check, and that looks actually really good for me. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play e5. Seems like the normal move in any circumstance. Here he's probably expecting me to play this, but because I have castled, which I was able to do because he played this move instead of the normal move, I'm actually going to take here. And my pawn here is very dangerous because it covers this e7 square, which means I can now give this check, and he can't put a piece on this square. Okay, sure, you can put your bishop there by all means, but my evaluation of this position is it's probably okay for me, and I could be wrong. But that's my evaluation of the position. Now I need to work out basically how I am to proceed. This pawn is under attack, so it might make sense to take. He takes back, and his king won't want to castle over on this side. It's going to want to castle this way. Meanwhile, he does have a lot of pressure. So if I were to take here, he's likely to take with the knight or the queen, really. But I don't think I want to do that because I'm already down material. So what do I want to do? I could develop this bishop. If he takes like this, it's not fantastic, is it? I could put my queen here. You maybe get the feeling that he's played this before with h6, but anyway, doesn't matter what he's played before. Let's check, do we have anyone in the chat? No, we don't. Okay, so what to do? Obviously, we need to develop. But I'm going to take first. I don't want to lose this pawn. I don't want to give him the opportunity just to develop like this with tempo. Although even if I take here, after he takes, I'll probably put my bishop here. Do you know what? Taking here is probably also dangerous for me, because after takes and takes, if he ever pushes this pawn will be in danger from this bishop. Not only that, but this file will be open for the rooks to attack my king. So I'm not sure. Maybe I will actually let him take this pawn and focus on doing something else. What about this move? He can simply push past me there. I probably don't necessarily want to do that. I could come here with my queen. I think this is an okay move. At least it comes with a threat. Developing with a threat against this pawn. I think I'll probably do that. And I know I'm giving this pawn back to him, but I think I would rather do that at the present moment. That's actually something I would rather do as compared to taking. So he takes that pawn, but I'm going to take this pawn. Is the whole idea there. Okay. Anything else for me to consider here? Can I take this? Not really, so I'll take the pawn. He'll castle. As he castles, my queen will come under attack from his bishop. It's not under attack now because it's pinned to the king. Alright. So I'm expecting him to castle, at which point the pin is broken and my queen is under attack. And his rook will be here on this file. So if I drop my queen here, then it's going to be x-rayed by his rook. It's a very dangerous position really for me. I probably did misplay it in some way. But that's okay, you know, hopefully we're going to learn something from this, because I think the Scotch Gambit's a very dangerous, very, very dangerous weapon, but you do need to know how to use it. And this game can become an opportunity to learn a little bit more about how to use it. So that's basically how we're going to treat this. Okay. So we're waiting for the opponent to make a move here. Still nobody in the chat, that's fine. He's made a move. So we see the move here, bishop d6. He has not castled this way, which I suppose, having, you know, not ruined his pawn structure, it's fine. He's actually playing in a nice flexible way. That does make a lot of sense. But how am I going to proceed here? He is still, for the moment, he is still pinned along the file. Can I take here? No, I can't, because he's got it defended twice. I could attack it again, though. I think now I could attack this again. But he's going to castle. And then I won't have time to actually capture, which is frustrating. What about a move such as this or this? You know, this pawn actually is a real thorn in my side, because I'd love to get my knight here, and I simply can't do that. Simply can't do that at present. This knight's doing a very good job. No doubt about that. But this bishop is really lousy. It can't come here or here or here. It can only really come here, but that's the square I probably would prefer to put my knight on. So that's not very good. Now, I could continue moving my queen, but I'm going to evaluate that as bad on the basis that I need to develop my pieces instead. I need to develop my pieces here. Which piece? Now, I think I'm going to choose the knight, because then the knight also has this option. So I'm not saying this is a great position. I don't think it's a great position, but I need to develop my knight. I still don't need to move my queen, but I will have to soon. And if, depending on which way he castles, you know, if he castles this, so now I do need to move my queen because it is under attack. Although there is the possibility of playing this move anyway, because if he takes my queen, I take his queen with check, ruining his pawn structure. That is a possibility. So I could actually play this move. You have to always be careful when you play moves like that. What if he moves the queen away with a kamikaze? Particularly with check. Now, in this case, like for instance, what if he takes this knight with his queen? Well, if he does that, then I guess I could take the bishop with my queen. But then he takes here with check. I have to take, and he takes here, and en masse, I think he's won another pawn. So I don't think that's actually going to work. I think I do need to move my queen for the moment. Probably here is the place to go. Although you have to be aware then The knight can attack me there. That's not very good. That's not going to help because his bishop still attacks me there. This might work just because it gains a tempo on the pawn. And I can always swing back across this way after that is said and done. But I don't think this is going to be the move. Although if he does attack me, you could argue then that I could take this pawn. He then lands this fork, taking a pawn back. If we were to trade queens, I move one rook, but he still wins the other rook. So I don't think that's working. So probably a move like this or even like this. Very passive square for my queen to go to. The only real other opportunity is this one. And I think that's what I'm going to do because it comes with a tempo. It buys me a little bit of time to play this intended move. And I have the opportunity to come back this way anyway, although that's in itself very, very dangerous because even if my queen gets here, he's got so many pieces over here that it might become the case that my queen gets trapped over there. Alright, so now we have to play on. Let's attack his queen. Okay, he's taken a time out to defend this pawn, which is what we wanted. Time to move the queen. Now I can take this bishop if I want, which relieves some of the pressure towards my king. It's also important to note he's actually pinning this pawn now. He's pinning that pawn. Very important to note. So how to proceed from here? Certainly we can take, and that ruins his pawn structure somewhat. I think that is what I'll do. Take one of the bishops, ruin the pawn structure a little bit, and now find another way to proceed. Now there is this, because I do need to protect this pawn now. It's not the only way to protect the pawn. And maybe I don't need to protect the pawn, maybe I can counterattack something else instead. But I certainly need to do something very useful. And what's that going to be? I mean, certainly this is a possibility, but let's say we just trade. He then plays this move. He's threatening the fork. He's threatening the pawn. So that's absolutely not going to work. This is possible, but he puts a rook over here, and I don't like that very much. Threatening moves like this. So, what to do? I could come this way with my queen. If I come this way with my queen, I'm defending this pawn, and I'm also attacking this pawn. I could take this immediately, but then he takes back, and that's not good. But this move, I think, could make some degree of sense here. Do I have to watch out for this? It would threaten mate. But I think I can just play that in response. I do have to be somewhat careful. Okay. What are we going to do here? I could also just develop my bishop and say, look, you can have this pawn if you want it, because then I'm going to take this pawn and potentially win an exchange. I think I like that. Let's develop the bishop. We need to develop pieces. That's essential. Okay, good. We developed with a threat. He's defended the threat. But we've also, shored up our own side of the board a little bit here. So now if he were to bring this bishop in, threatening checkmate, then this bishop could just drop and would be nicely defended. This pawn can't really move because of the threat against the rook. What I can do now is bring my other rook across potentially. Then even if he takes this, I can take this. I think that's probably sensible. I do think that's probably sensible. Can I play this? Probably not. Let's bring the rook across. Okay, so yes, I'm a pawn down, but at least my pieces now are nicely centralized. I managed to get them developed. I managed to get a bit of compensation by ruining his pawn structure and taking the bishop pair off him. So maybe have some chances to recuperate from what was essentially a bad opening. Not that the Scotch Gambit is bad, but that I mishandled it. Okay, so now he's putting some pressure on my queen. My queen can now choose where to go. And now this square, by the way, is probably okay for my queen. Because now if we trade... Okay, he can still come here with his knight, which is very annoying. In fact, I come back, and then this pawn also hangs. So maybe that is annoying for me. Maybe I want to come here with my queen as a result of that. Or perhaps, maybe I want to come here. This could be a good square for me, actually. Just... I think that is the square I'll go to because I still put pressure on this pawn from there. I also x-ray this pawn if this knight moves. I immobilize his pawns. And he doesn't have a dark squared bishop to harass me. I still, you know, hold his knight at bay in a lot of ways. So I actually like this move for my queen. And again, I know he can take this pawn, but this pawn is mine for the taking right now as well. Now, this is a nice move from him. What he's basically saying is I can't take this pawn because if I do, there's going to be checkmate. So what I'm thinking is I could move my other bishop back to get in the way of his queen. If I do that though, he's going to take here and ruin my pawn structure. So that raises the possibility of maybe playing this move. So if he takes, I can take with my rook. But after that, he takes this pawn, and I won't be able to take this pawn back because my rook will no longer be here, nor will my knight be here. So that is a nice move. It's a very nice move from him. And I need to come up with something here. This would be an option, attacking the queen, but also defending this pawn. The question is, where's that queen going to go? That's the very important question here. Queen certainly can't come here because of my bishop, but it could come right here. If it does do that, then I can play this move, or I can just bring my bishop back. That should be okay. So let's say this is played. I mean, that should be okay, but let's say he then attacks my knight. My knight has to come back, and then after take, I take, he takes his one pawn again. So, not loving that. Really not loving that. What else can I do here? Can I sneak my queen in further and make some further threats? I can't really just allow him to take there, can I? Don't think so. Okay, what else could be done after this move? There is this, using the pawn to defend both of these, but then this comes in with a fork, which isn't nice. So I think it might be actually best to do this. Let him ruin my pawn structure and take a pawn. Yeah, it's never a good sign when you're thinking that might be your best move. Or is it this? And after he takes, take with the rook. He takes this pawn. And, you know, what can I say? I'm definitely worse there. It's not good. What if I move my king? Moving my king might be an option. And if I do move my king, where do I want to move it to? If I move here, he takes, I take. He takes this. I do have this move then. My rook defended here and then try and double up, but it's not good either. My thought is if I move my king here, so what I'm going to do, look, it's a desperation sort of a situation here. It's definitely desperation. My idea is maybe I can open up the G file. So you take my knight, sure, I'll take back. In so doing, open the G file, and having moved my king over here, maybe I can move a rook over this way and try and attack towards the king. So he's taken this pawn, but can I attack towards the king now? For instance, taking this pawn. If he takes back, potentially there might be opportunities to play a check, but I'm not sure that's really going to help. I could try and play that move immediately. But I'm really going to need my queen if I'm going to make this attack successful. So I could try and get my queen in perhaps this way. That might make some sense, but he is also looking at this pawn very, very voraciously. If I play this move, attack his queen, he's just going to move away. Okay, so what if I take this pawn right here? If he takes there, yeah, I don't like that. What if I take this pawn and he takes? No, there's no back rank mate because he's got this square for his king to get to. What can I do? Looks very, very dire here. Looks very dire. Even if I come here, he takes, I take. That's just very much not a good situation to be in. But let's just try. Let's keep on playing. After he takes this, this pawn's also ready to fall, which is not good. I can bring the other rook across. That would defend it in some way. Okay, so he moves there. But what about check now? I'm going to come here, threaten this pawn. You never know, maybe I can bring some pieces across and maybe he'll make a mistake while trying to put me under time pressure. I think he should bring this rook across now, just to defend everything there. Okay, he takes, so I'm going to bring this rook here, attack the queen and defend this pawn. And now I'm attacking the queen, I'm also attacking this. I have a lot of pieces coming towards his king, you never know. So he takes there now. What if I take this? Check, he takes, then there's this check. Nah, I think I'm going to take here. I'm going to take there first. Defend this pawn. He's going to bring a rook here. No, he doesn't. Isn't that just mate? No, it's not quite mate. Not quite mate. But can I play this? Attacking his queen. Trying to drive him off the diagonal or double up my rooks. Alright, so I think here I might have to take there, unfortunately. Double the rooks. Threatening to put my rook here. Yeah, no, I think I'm lost here, but at least I gave it a shot, huh? I did give that a good shot. I'll take this pawn, see if I can distract his rook. It's still meaningless though, because he still just runs away this way, unfortunately. And now let's say I attack this pawn, but really the goal is to get the other rook up here. So, and he's going to get a queen in the meantime. So, although I'm sort of half threatening something, he's going to get a queen and end up mating me before I do anything bad to him. So I think what went wrong in this game, I mean, certainly my time usage wasn't very good, and my opening, I didn't handle the opening well. And that's okay. So we're gonna break this game down after we finish playing it, and we'll prepare for the next round, basically. So check. I'm just gonna come back, move out the way, try and keep any sort of semi-threats that I have here, which I don't really have any, but anyway. I guess I'll come here. Yeah. I mean, obviously it's completely lost, but yep, there we go. Checkmate. So that was really a terrible game. Terrible game. Now, to be fair, I haven't played a lot of chess lately. Just getting back into it now. But that was awful. That was a really awful game. So let's have a little look at it though. Let's actually have a look at what happened and how we can improve, importantly. How we can improve. So, played the Scotch Gambit, and he played this move h6, which is, okay, interesting. I castled. He played his knight out, and I'm pretty sure e5 would be normal. E5 is maybe not the very best move according to the evaluation bar. I wonder if maybe I should have just put rook e1, would have been more simple. Just defend the pawn and prepare this push. I can understand that, and we'll do that next time. Actually makes things easier. But playing this way is still fine. And after he played d5, should I have just moved my bishop? I mean, I took the knight. Oh, and it turns out taking the knight's just a big mistake. I thought it might be fine because it's different to the main line in the sense that my rook's here ready to pounce. But I guess I'm just wrong, because after he takes the bishop, these two pawns turned out to be really quite strong. Stronger than this pawn. And that's an important learning point. Even though I played a check, once he blocks the check, what am I doing? I just already, we're 8 moves in, and my position was really difficult. You know, I didn't want to take here because he just takes back with his bishop, and his bishop's a beast. If I've helped him to develop, and although I've sort of ruined the pawn structure here, guess what? He doesn't care. He's going to castle long, where his pawn structure is perfectly fine. He's got extra pieces of material. His pieces are super active. His pawns are preventing me from developing. It just turned out to be a mistaken choice of opening. Whereas had I played, you know, even in this move, even at this point, had I just put my bishop here, like according to the normal idea, then my position would have been completely fine. So really, it shouldn't have even ever got that far. You know, when we're playing the Scotch Gambit, the moment he didn't play the main line is this. And that's where normally you do just push the pawn and then you see these moves played. I'm not sure what the next move is after this, so it's probably castle, I would imagine. Or maybe not, but the moment he didn't play that way, the moment he instead played the move he played, which was h6, that was the moment I sort of thought, something's different. Maybe I should just accelerate my development. Since he's sort of delayed his development, let's accelerate my development. Which was fine, but then in this position, probably it would have been simpler just to, like I say, put the rook in the center of the board and wait for him to make his next moves. You know, now he can't ever play this very natural move. As you can see by the evaluation bar, we simply take and we discover a check on the king. We're attacking the knight, which has to move. Here would be the only reasonable square, you know, and now you can see how nice this position is for us already. So, long story short, the opening did not go my way at all using the Scotch Gambit. Hey, first follower, Nerdy Asian Guy. Can you hear me? If you can hear me, let me know. Thanks for following. If you can hear me, let me... Oh, sweet. Nice. Cool. So yeah, I'm just recapping a game. I'm not sure how much of this... Awesome. I'm glad. I'm not sure how much you saw of this game, but I'm recapping this terrible game I played. It's the first game in a 15-minute tournament that I'm playing right now. And essentially the opening just did not go my way at all. I played a Scotch Gambit. It just, yeah, like I say, didn't go my way. Do you play chess? Do you play the Scotch Gambit? Let me know if so. But essentially, had the opening gone my way, maybe things obviously would have been different. But the way things went, I think after this happened, I still kind of played all right. I made some chances for myself in the end. I agree. I played the Scotch, but I mainly play the Ruy Lopez. Yeah, well, I love the Ruy Lopez. I'll probably play the Ruy Lopez if I get white in the next game. You know a lot of the Scotch Gambit theory. Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, I think that the way I played this was probably wrong. See, he didn't play the main line. I know the main line here is knight f6, but he played this move h6. But I've learnt from that. You know, I think castles there is fine. And I think after knight f6 now, probably next time I'll probably just play rook e1 here. Next time around. But anyway, so it went badly for me, but I still tried to make some chances for myself. So we'll have a quick look at some of those chances. Yeah, because he had all these thorns in my side, I decided to try and make some sort of threats with my queen, attacking this pawn. But, really that just allows him to develop his queen even quicker and nicer. Sure, I win one pawn back temporarily. He develops his bishop. I tried to get my knight going. I think that was a wise move. After he castled, I took one move to gain a tempo on the pawn so that I could then play this knight move. Let's see, did I actually have a chance at any point? I got my rooks in the center. It didn't seem too bad at this point. This square I thought was a nice square for my queen, but it turned out my queen was just misplaced. It was no longer really in the game. I needed it on the king side, and it wasn't there. And this move, bishop d5, was exactly why I was wrong. That was a beautiful move. So I moved out of the way, and after take, I tried in desperation to attack his king. Tried in desperation to bring my queen across. I thought for a moment I might be back in the game, and yeah, the computer agrees. I probably do have a chance here to equalize. No, so I would love to know. I mean, when you say not in the spirit of the Scotch, I mean, do you mean I should just forget about the pawn? Forget about trying to win a pawn back and just purely activate my pieces? But yeah, here probably I made a mistake again. Oh, look at this. This is terrible. I sort of had the feeling that I probably had a win here. I thought I was playing too slow by just taking the pawn, but no, that's actually fine. It's mate in 13. Mate in 13 here. How so? Was it bishop takes? Yeah, it was. That's what I was thinking of playing. Dang. So I did make some chances, and I could have had a chance to win, but I ended up screwing it up. Yeah. You want rapid development in the Scotch Gambit. Some lines you can even sack one or two pieces. Yeah, scary stuff, huh? It's scary to give away material, but you're absolutely right. Material is part of the story, but ultimately it's immaterial. So at this point, I'm just waiting for the next round to begin. How many more games are going? There's only one game still going. I'll click into it. They might have a bit of time to go here. They've got some time on the clock, although the position doesn't look great. And then we'll be into the next game. What do you play from the black side against e4? Nuckmanson Gambit. No, I don't know the Nuckmanson Gambit. Definitely don't know it, but I'm going to look it up right now. Let's have a look. It's a chess opening that's easy to learn. And it's mainly assigned to the Italian game. I like that. I know there's a lot of crossover sometimes between the Scotch and the Italian. Let's see what happens here. I should fix up this. So basically it's an Italian where black plays two knights out straight away. You strike with d4 immediately. And when they take on d4, striking with d4 is kind of like that Scotch style of idea. And when they take, you castle. And then if they take again on e4, you give up a knight on c3. You play the Sicilian Najdorf. Okay. And then you sack the bishop on f7, bringing the queen out. And you, okay, so yeah, that, I mean, obviously without properly analyzing that, it does demonstrate just how gambits, sort of what the spirit of a gambit is, where, you know, you're actually primarily playing to get your pieces active. Primarily playing to get your pieces active. You're not primarily playing to slowly grind your opponent, which is probably more my style. Maybe I'm not so much of a gambit player. Maybe I prefer, you know, solidity and small edges over long periods of time. So perhaps the Scotch Gambit isn't for me, or any of these gambity lines, maybe they're not for me. But at the same time, I do like attacking. So Yeah, interesting. What's your rating, Nerdy Asian Guy, in the 15-minute? Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. By the way, is this the first of my videos you've seen? Because I would probably refer you to my YouTube channel. 2150, amazing, amazing. And do you offer coaching services? Beautiful, beautiful. Well, yeah, maybe we can do some of these games, with a bit of coaching and trying to improve. My first goal is to get up to 1800, but ultimately, like everyone wants to cross over 2000. Beautiful. Do you stream at all? Cool. Let's see how this game's going. Well, that's cool. Yeah, last year I was playing in a Canberra chess. Canberra is where I was living. I guess it's the capital city of Australia. I was playing club level chess back then, and playing in some tournaments. I created some videos that were quite fun to play, to make. Sort of tried to make them quite dramatic, and probably they were some of my best games. I'll try and pull one up for you. That's probably, when I played my best chess. But anyway, you can find them on YouTube. Another thing that I actually have going on, Nerdy Asian Guy, you may be interested in anyway, is I happen to have, by chance, live very nearby to Australia's highest rated chess player, who is Grandmaster Anton Smirnov. So I happened to get a bit of coaching from him, and I've happened to create a few videos with him as well. So I haven't published them yet. I'm still sort of editing them together and trying to make them look really quite nice and trying to get the most out of them. But there's quite a few hours of video that I will have coming up, featuring sort of lessons and games with Anton Smirnov over my shoulder, giving me his sort of advice on things. But here we go. We're into the second round. We have the black pieces this time round. So here we go, huh? This will be interesting. So e4. I'm going to play e5. I think I'm going to play e5. Yeah, let's play e5. I don't know if you caught the start of the stream, but one of my real issues is playing too slowly. I think because of analysis paralysis. Here we go with the Ruy Lopez. I'll ask him what he wants to do with it. But instead of just analysis paralysis, I want to sort of focus on just making a general evaluation of the position and discarding all the moves that I normally would analyze, that take so much time to analyze, that actually don't need to be analyzed. All right, so I don't think that's a normal move. I don't think it's a mainline move, and I don't think I need to worry too much about it. I think we can just carry on here with knight f6. And here, what do I want to play? I mean, bishop d6 comes to mind. Bishop c5 potentially comes to mind if you wanted to gambit a pawn. And then just castle would be interesting. Is it... yeah, I think the Ruy Lopez is obviously extremely solid. I actually like the Ruy Lopez. I play the exchange Ruy Lopez when I'm white. Sometimes it peters out a little bit, but it sort of gives me the feeling that I'm in the driver's seat when I play the exchange Ruy Lopez. Like, you're really sort of dictating terms of play a lot of the time. All right, so what do I want to do? I want to develop, but do I want to give this pawn away? So if I do just bring a bishop here to c5, and he takes there, then I think the normal move would probably be queen d4, threatening mate, attacking the knight. I think that probably looks okay. What else can he do? Yeah, let's do that. I'm going to do it. Let's gambit the pawn. This is out of theory, but white's still playing very typical moves. Yeah, okay. I thought h3 was maybe a sideline of some kind. I don't think it's necessarily a main line. I'm not sure. So he hasn't taken the pawn. And that's fine. I think if I castle and he takes the pawn, this move still applies. So I think I'm safe to castle, and probably that's what I'll do. And maybe on the next move, if I want, I can defend the pawn with a rook. So he's attacking this now. That's sort of does make a lot of sense. If I drop the bishop back and he takes, I can no longer play this queen to d4 idea. So, yep, that does make sense. I could drop the bishop back now if I want, which is a second bishop move, but he's moved his knight twice as well. So I don't think that's the end of the idea. So h3 is to prevent bishop g4. And black has very dangerous gambits with bishop g4, h5. Bishop g4, h5. Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. I do appreciate the insights. So had h3 not been played, then perhaps bishop g4 would be a nice way to continue. And you can see here the bishop is very much restricted now to, you know, maybe one of these two squares. So again, I don't want to have, you know, analysis paralysis. If I play this move, he can take my bishop. Then I take back. That's probably okay. Otherwise, if I come back here, am I feeling a bit passive? Am I feeling like my bishop's not doing enough? Maybe. Although if I play this, he can actually just attack my bishop and then I have to go back. So I will play this move. And I'll try to manage my time a little bit better. Like I say, trying to swap analysis paralysis for solid, relatively rapid evaluation of the position, and then choosing a solid move and playing on. So here we go. He's pinning my knight. Shall I ask a question of that bishop, or shall I do something different? I don't think he can add any pressure to this knight at present. And I'm not sure that I want to give him a hook potentially here for later. If I were to play something, yeah, I think, what else do I want to do? I might just continue on with my development. Maybe the rook. Maybe one of those things where it doesn't hugely matter. What do we do here? It's an annoying pin, no doubt about it. That actually is a very annoying pin. I don't know exactly what to do. I'm going to develop the bishop to an active square, the most active square I can put it to for the moment, and I'll delay this decision for the moment. See what else he does. Delaying decisions is something. So black had a common plan here that I'll tell you later. Okay, thank you so much. I do appreciate it. I wonder if it revolves around h6 and g5, but I guess we'll see. Okay, so the queen now comes out. That somewhat potentially takes away the option to play h6. Although he'd give the bishop up for 2 pawns. He's have his queen and knight in my area there, which might be slightly scary. I do notice this alignment here, but of course I can't play this at the moment. So what am I going to do? One thing I could do is just get out of the pin. You know, if he takes, I take back. I don't think that looks terrible. My pawn actually does a decent job there of preventing the knight or queen from using this square. His queen can come in here then though, and my king's not super happy about that, I don't believe. But that is a possibility, just getting out of the pin. Another possibility would be this, but then I'm giving up on this pawn. So that's not fantastic. What other options have I got here? Other options here. I could move the king. And what I'm thinking with that is, then if I played this getting out of the pin move, and he takes and takes, brings his queen in, I can bring a rook over here, and I feel a bit safer then, because I can smoke the queen out, potentially. That said, if I do this straight away, take, and if the queen were to come in, I can sort of play this move at that point. No, because the pawn here is going to hang. The pawn here hangs, and that's the case even if I come here first, and then this. Yeah, that would be terrible. So, no. Can't do that. What I might do is then put a rook here on the sort of center of the board, and maybe in the future I can take the knight so that the rook defends the pawn, and then bring this bishop all the way back somewhere. Okay, he castles. Okay, so now they played queen d2, the plan that you were talking about. Okay, so the plan was h6, queen e7. Okay, we'll have a look at that a little bit later. Thank you so much. All right, so he's castled now, and I do potentially have a hook here. So now I can think again about this move. If he takes the knight, I can take back. Then if he comes in here, attacking the pawn, no, I'm not going to consider all these moves because that's analysis paralysis, and my evaluation there is that's terrible for me, so I'm just going to stop that there and look for something else. Okay, so what else have we got here? As I was saying earlier, it might be possible to just take the knight, although that opens up a rook for him and gives away the bishop pair for no real reason. So I don't think I'm going to do that. What else can I do here? I can move this bishop. Away. Does that actually help me though? I can put my queen here. I don't see how that necessarily helps. What if I do move the bishop here? If he takes the pawn, or maybe moving my bishop here. If he takes the pawn, can I take the knight? Because then if he takes bishop, I can take this knight. So is this in fact a way? Well, it doesn't really achieve much. I mean, maybe it sets a trap. But I don't think it actually does anything much else. It's going to be really interesting to go through and, analyze this game, see what that plan was that you were talking about. But what do I do here? So what's my primary issue and what are my goals? My primary issue is I feel like I'm tied down, particularly my queen, as a result of this pin. I feel like I can't really move my queen because of that I can't really move my rook. But actually I can move the queen. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move the queen. I'm going to bring my rook into the center. Because although he is pinning me here, I don't see the way that he increases the pressure on that pin, at least not at the moment. So I'm actually just going to act like it doesn't matter and continue my development. Okay, so he voluntarily withdraws the pin. I guess that signifies he wants to bring another piece down here. If he wants to bring another piece down there, that's, fine, but can I now play h6? I think I can now play h6 and just take that square away from him. If he puts the knight there, I take. And although he takes back, I've won material there. So h6 here seems like it might be a sensible move. What else can I possibly do here? I can just bring my rook across. Bringing the rook across here might be a nice opportunity to do that. Other moves here, I could even consider playing something like g6 and king g7. Although that possibly weakens the dark squares a lot. Okay, definitely struggling here. I think h6 makes sense. I'm going to play h6. Seems like he's given me a chance to play h6. I might as well do it. But don't see a huge downside to it at the moment. All right. g5, probably not going to be an idea with my king open and with all these pieces around. Yeah, I feel like I've been on the back foot so far in this game. I feel like I've been cramped and like I've been pinned, but I feel like I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay here. Things seem to be holding together okay. I don't feel like I've got any great big weaknesses. He could jump the knight here and attack this b pawn, but I can defend it. Can certainly defend it. Yeah, he just brings his rook into the game. Bringing his rook into the game makes sense. What do I want to do now? I can attack his queen now. Not sure that makes a big, huge improvement. I could also take the knight. I'm not sure that makes a lot of sense either. I could come back this way now. Or I could bring my king up here. That might even make sense. I think I quite like that idea. I think what he wants to do, given that he's doubling up here, he probably wants to push this pawn forward and try and open the position. That's probably the plan. So let's say I play king g7 and he pushes forward. Do I need to take? Probably, because otherwise if he pushes forward, I take here. He takes again. Yeah, maybe I don't need to, actually. Maybe I don't need to worry too much about that. Maybe I can bring my rook in here so that after takes... the thing is also, if he pushes this pawn, can I just take this pawn? He takes queen, I take queen. He takes bishop, I take rook. I think I probably can actually do that. I think I'm either going to play the rook over, but then if he plays this move, does my rook have to move back to defend this pawn? And therefore, is that a bit of a waste of time? Am I better off playing this? I think I'm going to play this move. Possibly a mistake in light of this whole idea, because now if I play this, he can move his queen here and pin my knight. But I can unpin it with threats. But the main reason I did that was so I could move my queen away, and if he ever took the knight and I take back, he wouldn't be able to take this pawn, so my king actually defends. But he's simply moved back, which seems to free my position a bit, as far as I can tell. Alright, so, okay, he's playing slowly, which is fine. Now he's attacking this pawn for another time. But if he takes, I take back. And then if he takes, I take this. And I think that's actually good for me. So I think I can probably play this. Again, maybe he can play that in response. Maybe he can play that in response. Maybe what I want to do is this move now, just to defend the pawn again. Or I could put my rook here, my knight, sorry, here and attack his bishop. That might make some sense. Okay, I feel like things are starting to go my way. I don't feel like my position is as bad as it was earlier, so that's a good thing. I'm still sort of running low on time. Do I want to play a move like this? Because that has annoyed me. Oh, I guess if he plays this move, then I've got this move, attacking the queen and the knight. So that's important to note. So I could put my rook in the center without fear of this move, because then this is played. And once he sort of does something like that, I can come here and just take the knight. Problem is this pawn. That might be a problem. So if I play this, what happens if he takes? If he takes, I take back. And then if he takes here, I take this, discovering an attack there. So I think that in both cases, that's all fine. So I'm going to put my rook in the center of the board now. I think that that's tactically justified. But you're absolutely right. My time management is terrible. I'm a disciple of John Bartholomew. and he's notorious for getting down on time. He's got his whole YouTube series using the clock as a weapon, where he's trying to work on that. It's something I desperately need to work on as well. So you're absolutely right. I will try and be a lot more quick. And like I say, it's because of analysis paralysis. I need to be discarding a lot of moves that I normally think about. I need to discard them off the top of my head. That's one thing that I sort of really observed with Anton Smirnov, and I'm sure at 2150 it would be a difference between you and I as well, is that he doesn't even consider moves that I consider. Doesn't waste a second of time, or I would be worrying, oh, what if my opponent plays a move like this? And I'd, as you saw, spend a lot of time thinking about it, eventually realize it doesn't matter. Like that. He never even considered that would be a problem. And, his evaluation of the position already took that into account, that, he doesn't need to consider certain moves. He only needs to consider the 2 or 3 biggest, most important moves. Depressed med student. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. By the way, if you're a med student, I got news for you, brother or sister. I also have another channel called GP Smash Podcast. It's on Twitch. I do live study with me sessions. I'm a GP, so I'm an ex-med student. But I do study with me sessions where I'm studying medicine, talking about patients I've seen and all that kind of stuff. So, feel free to join me over there as well. And it's a podcast. You can listen to it on Spotify if you're driving or working out, going for a walk, trying to beat your depression. Or if you're just putting it on in the background while you're playing chess. Or alternatively, just hang out here and we'll play some chess. So, okay. Queen e2. Getting out of this file. Okay, things are moving in my direction here, I kind of feel. I think this is a very solid move for me to play. But what's his idea with Queen e2? I do need to figure out what's his idea. I still don't think this is a threat because I take, and when he takes back, I take here. And my interpretation of that is I'm doing fine there. My evaluation of that, I should say. But now that he's got his queen off this diagonal, this move may well be possible. So I'm actually just going to play this move. I think that's okay. I'm going to play it rather quickly. I don't think it creates any major weaknesses, and it puts the ball back in his court. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. That'd be good to see you there. GP Smash Podcast is where you'll find it. What's your chess ranking, depressed med student? Trying to get a feel for the audience. We've got Nerdy Asian Guy who's 2150 in this 15 minutes sort of style. So a very strong player, giving some nice tips, and we're going to analyze some of these things shortly. Some of the tips from him. But what's your ranking if you do play? Now, this knight is feeling rather restricted at this point, but certainly it can come back this way. Just a matter of not having a lot of room to go after that. Also, if the knight moves, can I take the pawn? My evaluation is probably not. He brings a rook over here. I have to bring it back, and then I lose this pawn. Okay. He's taken time out there. So now I could take. He can no longer take and open this file. Instead, he has to sort of double his pawns, leave himself with this backwards pawn. I really like the way this is going for me. If I take, he's going to be left with a weak pawn. I am giving up the bishop pair. So I have to make sure it's worthwhile, but I think my evaluation is it's actually probably worth doing that. In this case, I can even then bring my queen here to attack this pawn is somewhat weak. And then I can do some other things, I think. So, alternatively, this knight doesn't have heaps of prospects anyway, but do I have anything better? Otherwise, I'm going to take the knight. If I don't have anything better, I might take the knight and just say that his pawn structure is weak. Let's do that. Giving up 1300 rapid. Yeah, nice. That's not too much of a noob. Yeah, we can do 1v1. That'd be good. We'll do it. We can do it shortly. All right. So we have here, unless you say you're 1300, you're probably 2300 or 3300. You're gonna just smash me, but that's fine. That's completely fine. Let's see. So we've got a backwards pawn here we can potentially work against. It was part of my thinking. Now, how do we work against it? It'd be nice to get a knight there. It's going to be hard to get a knight there. This is the classic, diagonals. It's hard to get the knight across. But I could put my knight here, and then back here, and then here. That's, one long-winded possibility. What else have we got? I was considering, like I said, putting the queen here, which I think I'll do again in the interest of time. Just gaining a tempo against this pawn. And not necessarily losing anything, I don't think. I don't think I lose anything by playing this move. I don't really want him to play... Okay, I don't really want him to play this move, because it lets him get rid of this weak pawn of his. Okay. But I might have to allow it. Unless I now play this. That's probably a move that now comes to mind for me. Again, this is now almost more based on instinct than on analysis, but I'll try and explain it. I'll try and explain it. So basically, I don't want to allow him to play this move. Although I might have just allowed it, didn't I? I got distracted by the chat. Too busy hanging out with you guys. Okay, so where are we at? My pawn structure is still fine. I think he can play this move, but if he does, I just take the pawn. This pawn will hang, but this pawn of my opponent's will also hang. So I think we're okay here. I think this position's okay. I've only got a minute, but I think I'm still okay. The fact that my king is on this diagonal and that he might be able to check me could be a source of tactics at some point. I have to be careful. That makes me want to play a move like g6 and then king g7. I think so too. I think my position here is okay. So he's taken the pawn. Did I just completely blunder that one? Yeah, I did. So I blundered here in this position, I think. But I don't think by any stretch it's completely all over at all. Because I do have this move now, which puts pressure on a pawn. It attacks his knight. I think I'm going to play this relatively quickly. I do have to be careful now. Maybe I can play a move like this. And again, the backwards pawn here is something for me to play against, even though I've given up a pawn through mistakes and through lack of focus. So I will certainly try to focus for the rest of the game. Alright, so he comes back attacking my pawn, my bishop, sorry. Now I've got a nice move here, I think. I think this is a nice move, but not quite. Not quite a great move. What I might do is I'll play this because it protects the pawn by moving it out of the way. And it also protects this square. So if he takes my bishop, my knight can recapture, my rook can recapture, and then I can potentially pile up pressure on this file against the backward pawn. Keeping in mind also that this pawn is pinned because of the location of his queen. So in future I might be able to play moves like knight d5, and he can't take me because the queen would hang. So he takes, I'm going to take with my rook, as mentioned, blockading his backwards pawn, which is a classical way to try and attack against a backwards pawn. If nothing else, maybe I can put 3 pieces on this file against the backwards pawn and try and get my knight over there somehow and just try and win the pawn back. It's one way to go. But basically, I think my position here is pretty good. Not a lot of weaknesses. Not a lot of weaknesses at all. And like I say, with a move like this, he can't take. It's just a matter of where does my knight go from there. I mean, I can't really go anywhere from that point. But in future, it's something to consider. Now, if he ever puts a rook here, I can actually still play this, because after he takes, take my rook here also supports that attack. So at the right moment, knight d5 might be a very nice idea. Yeah. Yeah. Playing without an increment is basically like drinking arsenic for me, because I need that increment, as you can see. All right, so what do we have here? Possibly we can set some ideas up here. I like the idea now of continuing with this plan, piling up against this. And basically the other idea now is that this pawn is also potentially pinned, in the sense that if I take here, I have to be careful because his queen does defend the rook. But I was thinking that if he ever takes, maybe I can trade here a couple of times and end up winning something there. We'll have to see what he does with this queen. He's also possibly thinking of moving this pawn, but I don't think that should be good for him. It blocks his bishop. It disconnects the pawn from this one. Even though it's a backwards pawn, it does defend this pawn. And when it steps forward, it'll be completely undefended. And then a move like this, I'll be able to start attacking it. I can bring rooks back towards it and hopefully surround it and pick it up. He might also here be able to force a queen trade, I now see, with a check. In fact, not might. He can force a queen trade. Is it good for me or not? I don't know. Certainly I could take, he takes back, and then I can just take this pawn. So that seems fine. Seems fine. But how am I going to win this game? I think if I have another move, maybe I will... Should I play g6 and just disallow him the opportunity to go for a queen trade? Maybe. Because maybe I would prefer to play something like queen b3 and attack this pawn, and also bring more pressure towards this pawn. Queen b3 would be nice to play if I had a chance, I reckon. Queen b3. I mean, he's got a bishop, but it doesn't do a lot currently. So we'll wait and see what he does. Wait and see what he does. So, depressed med student, if you're still there, are you actually a med student? If so, what year are you in? And where are you studying? Now, in the meantime, looking at this position, it does feel like this position should be probably a bit better for me. Okay, so he pushes forward with this pawn, and as I said, this pawn I can probably start to surround and win. Firstly with moves like this, but also possibly with moves like this. Though it doesn't surround the pawn per se, it advances my knight to a nice square. And it also blocks the diagonal from his queen. Whereas if I play a move like this, his queen can potentially come in here, which might be annoying. That might be annoying. So how do I want to do this? Is it annoying? If he comes here, it's probably not that annoying, to be honest. I just moved that. So I'm going to surround the pawn. I'm going to try and surround the pawn. Again, I know he can try and force the queen trade, especially now that my rooks are sort of disconnected as a result of the location of my knight. Maybe it would have been a better idea. Oh, no. Scratch that thought. Okay, so he's come back here. So now I'm going to actually come here so I can continue putting pressure on this pawn. I'm going to bring my knight this way and attack the pawn like that. Okay. Here I'm probably going to have to put a stop to the advance of this pawn and also add more pressure to this pawn. Knight on f8. There is no mate. So I should be okay. First year. Oh, mate, just wait. Just wait a few more years. That depression is going to increase. Nah, just kidding. It's really all about how much you put in, I think. You really have to dive in with everything you've got. And there's going to be some highs, there's going to be a lot of lows, but I think the more you put yourself into anything, particularly something like medicine, the more you start to get out of it as well. So, that's the only real solution as far as I can tell, is do your very best. But yeah, if I can help at all, let me know. Alright, so this position, I've got 18 seconds, but the increment is certainly going to help. I don't know that he can actually defend this pawn now at all. After take, he takes and I take. He takes and I take. It's going to be equal material. And, moving into an endgame where it's going to be a knight versus a bishop, which means I'm going to have to start thinking now about getting my king active. But yeah, I found it really difficult just getting back onto the medical path for a second, doing my internship and residency, at least in Australia. Okay, so here we go. He's attacking me there. I think quite simply, we move out of the way onto a light square where he can no longer harass me. Okay, if he plays something like this, then I'll have to maybe consider a move like this, although things get very scary there. He's got quite a lot of pawns coming at me quite quickly. I can't do this because he takes with the rook. So probably if he does attack me this way, I'll probably just come here for the time being. And like I say, I've got moves like this, or this, or this. But yeah, this looks dangerous. It could actually backfire though if we get into an endgame and all these pawns are near my king. Maybe my king can take them in the future. We'll see. Alright, now he attacks me. Can come here or here. Both legitimate moves, I would say. Let's do it this way. Let's just do it this way. Okay, now. The knight does a good job, as well as the pawn. If he plays a move like this, he would lose the game immediately, because after takes, pawn takes, my rooks would combine, and that would be perfectly happy. I think if he plays a move like this, I can just take. When he takes back, I take this pawn. I think I've got good chances here, really. At least to draw. Hopefully better than that. So he pushes forward in that way. That's interesting. I think here I'm going to play this move. Again, without much time, I'm somewhat relying on instinct here. I'm attacking the pawn, the bishop, and when the bishop moves, I'll be able to take this pawn off the board once and for all. This pawn is now a backwards pawn, by the way. Can be attacked in future. Like I was saying, maybe this pawn storm of his will backfire in the end game, supposing we get to the end game. So where does he go with his bishop? He's really only got a couple choices. I don't think there's much else he could do right now. As we know, this is a losing move, trying to give a check. I would imagine he would probably want to attack my rook. Now I'm just going to take the pawn. It's a quick move to play, equalizing material and threatening the rook. So I think it forces him either to give me the file or forcing more trades. So gaining a little bit of extra time here too. Whoa, what's this pre-moving business all about? There we go. So of course, if he takes the queen, I'll take back. But we'll see. He takes, I take back. Now I'm attacking this pawn, which is nice. My rook is active, which is nice. He's got a backwards pawn here that I can target, which is nice. So I think things here are looking pretty good in general. Okay, so he brings his king up. Now, can I just win this pawn? How would I go about winning it? I can move my knight to one of these two squares. He'll be able to defend. One thing I could do also is this move now. I'll probably do this first. My king's not going to really be able to make use of that square anyway. So yeah, I'm going to bring my knight here. And if he defends like this, then I've got this check and hit the pawn. Alternatively, maybe I just attack that pawn again from behind. If he defends with the rook, then perhaps I do this anyway to attack this. And I can also consider other ideas at that point, like check, then bringing my king closer and trying to push h5 potentially. But I think I'm doing okay here. I really think I'm doing okay. I've got the only open file on the board, which is nice. After check, I can come here as well. He pushes forward. But check and I win the pawn, no? So I can also just take, but no, I'm going to do check and then win the pawn, because I want my pawn to blockade his other pawn. My king is within the square of this pawn, so my king's in time to prevent this pawn from queening. But I think it's just a nicer idea here that I play check. When he moves back, I've actually got this check here as well, and then take here. So that's all of those are possibilities. But to start with, I'm just going to simply take the pawn. I'm still attacking this pawn. Now I'm up a pawn. And on the next move, if I want, I can always just come back here and threaten this move again. So all right, now we're up a pawn, and he's got this pawn, which I think is probably more of a weakness than a strength. That's true. That's true. Maybe I should play bullet instead. Maybe I should trust my instincts more as well. I think, yeah, it's funny when you overthink, as Maynard James Keenan says, overthinking, overanalyzing separates the body from the mind. So what I'm going to do here probably is take this pawn. I know I had other options, but I don't see any reason why I need to move this knight. So I can take the other pawn. Now I'm up 2 pawns. My position's very nice. He could take the open file, but I'm not sure that he can do too much with it. We'll see. Maybe he can. If he takes the open file, my next move probably would be bring my king up and attack this pawn, whether I take it or not. Okay, so the time pressure is also going to start mounting on him pretty soon too. Impressively calm. I don't know. I mean, I think my position was worse at the start of the game, for sure. Particularly when he had me pinned along this diagonal. When he pinned my knight to my queen, that was all really annoying to deal with. That's a nice move. That's a nice move, but I'm going to take this pawn. This pawn's defended a couple of times, so I'm not too scared about that. How do I want to take here? I'll probably just take with my... Probably doesn't necessarily matter hugely. I'll take with the pawn. I know I disconnect the 2 pawns, but At least I restrict his his rook a little bit more. And, you know, having two outside pass pawns never hurt anyone except for the person that doesn't have the outside pass pawns. All right, so b takes c5. Okay, so he's attacking this pawn again. Attacking the pawn again is fine. I could defend it. Or I could counterattack. I'm going to counterattack. Let's go after this pawn. And I'm happy with trades. If he wants to take, I can take this and then take that. And I'm going to end up with extra pawns. I think this is probably all over. Hopefully it's all over. I think I can see myself winning this with these 3 extra pawns. Because I don't think you can defend this pawn at this point. So he takes. I'm going to go check to start with. We'll see where he goes with the king. Probably I'll just take the bishop. I could check him again. Let's take the bishop and then I'll check and win this pawn. And now it's just all over. I've got way too much material. Way too much material. So I'll take that. He can't touch me. I'll get my king active. I'll slowly push all of my pawns forward. And yeah, no worries. Yeah, I think 10 seconds, plenty of time now. Worst case scenario, it'll be a draw. That's going to be very much the worst case scenario. Bring my king up. And I think the key here is basically not to create any weaknesses and just to make sure everything's defended. So given the position of his king, I can basically guarantee that he can't hurt me. For instance, I can play check. His king has to move back now. And because his king has to move back, his rook doesn't have enough firepower to, on its own, create any real havoc for me. Now, it's annoying that he's attacking this pawn, but at the same time, I don't need this pawn. I've got 3 pawns over here, so I can keep my rook defending this pawn, and thereby, in some sense, tying down his rook. And meanwhile, I'll just start pushing my other pawns and using my king to escort those pawns up the board. "5 a.m. Are you in Australia? Where are you? Because it's pretty early for me too. The reason I stream early is because, give me a moment here. So here again, yeah, there's no real danger. I can just push these pawns forward. As long as my rook defends this pawn, he can't do anything really to me. But now that he's done this, what I could potentially... I don't want to do anything stupid, huh? So let's play this, check, and I might put my king here next. Then if he wants to check me from behind, I just block him with the rook. The reason I stream early is because I've got so many other things to do, unfortunately. I mean, it'd be fun to be a streamer, like a full-time streamer. But it's not reality for me at the moment. So I'm going to come here. And after check, I've got this. After this check, I've got this. Basically, I can just block him out from every which way. If he trades, obviously, it's going to be all over. But yeah, I've got to study a lot. I've got a wife and a kid. And so if I want to do, you know, my hobbies like streaming, and which I take it seriously, like I want to get good at chess and I really want my streaming to be useful to a lot of people. But essentially, here, what do I want to do? Certainly I can play a check. That actually forces the king back again. Yeah, let's do that. And then I can bring my king across. So I do want the streaming to be good, and I want my YouTube channel to be good. And like I say, you know, getting people like Anton Smirnov in, who's the best player in all of Australia, is a good way to try and do that. So I'll just, again, make sure I'm protecting everything and get ready to push this pawn as well. If I could push this pawn and get my rook behind it, that would be nice. Maybe another possibility would be to put my king up here, but no, I'm just going to play this for now because, again, any rook trade essentially means that I'm winning. Oh, you got up to watch who did you watch? Because I was going to get up and watch Croatia and Spain. Um, but I was too tired. So now we can probably not yet push this. No, we can. We can push this pawn. We can push this pawn now if we want. If he goes to attack it, it can be slightly annoying though. So actually, I'm just going to carry on pushing these 3 pawns forward. He's getting low on time. Yeah, I wanted to watch Croatia-Spain because I've got Croatian heritage. But it was too early, and in the end, Spain won 3-0, I believe. Now, this move is a slow move. That's fine. What I'll probably do here is push my outside passed pawn on this wing of the board. These pawns do a good job of holding his king back. And what I can potentially do is put the rook behind this pawn and then just push it. That'd probably force a rook trade at some point. You know, this game's not so interesting anymore. Yeah, 0-3. It was painful. And I saw the highlights. I didn't watch the whole game, but the highlights, it looked, I want to say, a little bit unlucky. All right, let's keep going. I'll probably put the rook here now. Actually, nah. I'll just push this pawn forward. There's still no way for him to hurt me. The rook always defends. My king can come up. Slowly but surely we'll get there. I mean, Spain scored some really nice goals. There was like really nice goals, basically. Now, again, I can go for this trade if I want, but he's going to check me, and then I have to move. So I can just play this. Yeah, let's just play this. Yeah, some really nice goals from Spain. Skillful and beautiful, but it also looked like Croatia had some really nice chances, like, you know, when they shot a couple times and they got unlucky, then they had a penalty, which, to be honest, if it weren't the fact that he got, like, the guy got chopped in the box, he would have scored already. And then the penalty got missed, but then they scored on the rebound and then it was disallowed. So, like, yeah, unlucky. Unlucky. In the end, you know what might be nice here? Let's push this pawn now. If he ever attacks it, we just play this. He's going to run out of moves and time soon. But I did look at what the Croatian media was saying about the game. And the coach, the Croatian coach, he wasn't talking about luck. He was saying, look, we gave them the game. We didn't play well enough. And I like that. That's like the attitude of a champion. All right, let's see now. Probably bring the rook across. And that would actually be a checkmate. So we might not need to promote anything. So he's going to have to do something about that threat. He moves across, but now what about this threat? He can come here, but then we've got this check. How's about... Oh shit, almost ran out of time, huh? Let's push that pawn forward. Let's push that pawn forward, then let's get the rook behind. That's probably the simplest way to go. Let's get the rook over here. This move is now coming no matter what. He's going to have to give up the rook. And after we trade everything, I'll get a couple of queens. So not a very good game for me. On the next game, I'll try and play with a lot more instinct. So now I can play check. He has to take, and then I get a queen. A queen with almost checkmate. All right. Give this check, and that's a checkmate. So... Thank you. I didn't feel it was great, but yeah, I guess, you know, after the opening, like then things got a bit better. Okay, we're straight into the next game here. Straight into the next game. I'll try and play this with a bit more instinct. Thank you very much. Hopefully we'll do better here. So an English opening, I'm going to go e5. So wait, only 16 years old, already playing for the country. Is that... Oh, is he the goalkeeper, is he? The Spanish goalkeeper? Or was he the one that blocked it so that the goal didn't go in? Alright, so he's got his bishop on that diagonal. My instinct is to block up this diagonal and try and play for d5. I wonder if I should play like that. I'm afraid of becoming a bit overextended in those scenarios. Could consider queen c2, but then that sort of discourages me from d5 in the end as well. I could do this anyway, and then if he takes the pawn, just gambit the pawn. Like this. But I don't think I have enough compensation there, so another sort of instinctive move here for me would be this. So I'm going to play that. Again, pretty solid. I'm not sure if it's best. It's probably not best, but ultimately I'd like to maybe get my bishop out, put a knight there, and prepare d5 eventually, potentially. But yeah. Were you playing as black with this opening? You also played c6 like this. Yeah, okay, cool. So castles, I also want a castle. I definitely want a castle. Now I could put my bishop here and gain a tempo, but, you know, big whoop, basically, is my thought about that. I think I'm probably better trying to castle as well. So let's get my bishop up, prepare to castle. Prepare to castle. And, yeah, hopefully my time management will be a lot better in this game. So he brings the knight out. Brings the knight out, which makes sense. I'll castle. Do I want to castle straight away? I don't see any danger in castling straight away, and it's one of those moves that you're probably going to have to play eventually anyway. So I think it makes sense to do. I probably want to get my bishop out so that I can get my knight out. Keeping in mind the moment my bishop leaves, this pawn would be undefended. It's not easy for him to attack that unless he's going to play something like queen b3. But oftentimes this pawn, if you have rapid development, I'm not saying here necessarily, but oftentimes it can be a poison pawn, especially when the queen takes it. You can then try and attack with rooks, and oftentimes you can take this pawn back, or just get a lot of piece activity. Oh gosh, yeah. Wow, okay, so yeah, the old tilt. I've tilted in my blitz rating. I think I'm back down to like 1400 or maybe even a little bit less. At my best, maybe a bit over 1500 in the blitz. But it's easy to lose 100 or 200 points. It's really easy. And funnily enough, it's hard to get the points back. It actually just requires a lot of consistency. But you know, when you're in form, you can win 100 points in a day as well. Like at the moment, I've been out of form. I've lost like the last. Okay, I won the last game that I just played. But you know, a few days ago I was at 1775. I have previously been in the 1800s range. Oh, I didn't even realize he played a move, d4. d4, some instinct here is probably to take. Instinct here is probably to take, or to push, possibly e4. But no, instinct says probably taking is the way to go. E4 is interesting though. Where does the knight go? The knight goes either here or here and attacks this pawn 3 times. So if I'm going to defend the pawn, I'd have to then play d5. If he takes twice, it's fine. I just might end up with an isolated pawn there. But that's an interesting way to go. Otherwise, takes is okay. My position's a bit cramped. My position's a little bit cramped. I don't love playing in cramped positions. Am I afraid of him pushing down to d5? I mean, that could become a thorn in my side. I could play d5 myself right now, but then I'm giving this pawn away. Alright. My instinct is actually... my first instinct was to take. But I think that actually sort of helps him. I'm going to play this move. And I'm probably going to follow it up with d5. Because I think that gives me more space, and I don't want to be cramped. Yeah. Yeah, it'd be good to see your game where you played something similar to this. And I also want to go back. I think this is the second last round of the tournament, or possibly even the last round. But yeah, afterwards, I would like to go back and have a look at the games that have been played and see what went right and wrong, and if you're around, get some of your ideas about them. So, okay, so here we go. He's going to have to make a decision here with this knight. If he comes here, it's just a bit cramped for him. And although I have to then defend with a pawn, I can. I've got the Nakamura style connect 4 going on. If he takes, I take back and turns into hanging pawns. But, you know, I think I can play with it. Ultimately, I might want to give 1 or 2 pawns away if I am overextended. But not yet. Not yet. Alright, so what else do I want to think about in this position? I want to think about... I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, actually. So he does come back there. I'm going to relatively quickly play d5, because I don't think there was any other way to defend the pawn. This also gives my dark squared bishop some more room to move. He takes. I take back. Maybe he can sack a knight for 2 pawns, but he doesn't decide to do that. I think now I probably will defend the base of this pawn chain. Although another move comes to mind is bishop g4 to attack the queen. If he plays something like this, I can get rid of this pawn. No. I think this is also a very sensible move, just developing my knight. Developing the bishop, though, defending here also looks sensible. There is that rule, knights before bishops, though. And I'm not completely sure of where my bishop wants to go, whether it's here or here or here. Whereas I'm pretty sure my knight wants to come here. So I'm going to put the knight here first and foremost. And then I'll decide what to do with my bishop later, hopefully when things are a bit more clear. Probably I would prefer this, to try and keep this safe and take away his idea of maybe taking and then taking a second pawn. Okay, so he plays this move anyway. Attacking this pawn. What happens if I defend the pawn? So he takes... I would have to take with the bishop, because otherwise he would be attacking me with his rook. Then let's say he takes with a knight. I can take. He can take that. And after I take, he takes. It looks like I'm just basically losing a pawn. He has a backwards pawn. So in that sense, sort of reminds me of the previous game, but I don't really want to do that. I might have to take here. Which does open up his rook and queen on this nice open file. But he can't take with the rook because of this nice pin that would appear on the board. Even taking with the knight gives me the opportunity to implement this pin is it an annoying pin? It's not so annoying like the one I faced last game. He can simply move out of the way. He's got that knight defended by a lot of other pieces, so there's no risk to him that I'm going to ruin his pawn structure or anything. But that said, in general, in this position, his king's a bit open. He's got a backwards pawn, and I think those things do work in my favor. I can jump my knight up here now and blockade this backwards pawn. He can then trade though, and when I take back, I've got a pawn blockading his backwards pawn, which isn't quite as good. Now, because of that, is there a way I can maybe play something like this? Because I'd love to blockade this backwards pawn of his in a way that's going to be useful for me. So if I play this, what happens if he moves the knight away? Let's say here. Then he's attacking my bishop, and he's also defending this square quite vigorously. So if I move my bishop here, he can take the bishop, which I certainly can't allow. So I could play something like h6 to take this square away from his knight, but he could also similarly play a similar idea from this square. So I don't think this move is going to be the correct one. For the time being, this pawn is adequately defended, even if he moves this guy out of the way and has two attackers there. So rook e1 probably makes some sense. I could also consider, this very passive bishop could consider coming here and trying to get rid of this knight, which is attacking my pawn and also preventing me from installing a knight on a nice square. That move comes to mind. If I play the rook move first, he might play a3 to prevent me from playing this in future. But then I get to hold on to the bishop pair, which isn't so bad anyway. But I'm kind of actually looking at this move as it might be nice. Then if he plays a3, I can decide whether I want to take, which gives him, in a sense, an even worse pawn structure. Yeah, I'm going to play this move. I'm going to play this move. Okay. So many English opening players play e3. It's so passive. Yeah, it is. It is. So, okay, he's attacked my bishop. I was kind of wanting to take this knight anyway, so in that sense, it's a bit of a wasted move. It encourages me to take, and I will take, because otherwise he's going to chase my bishop around the board, and my bishop's going to end up facing a whole lot of dark squared pawns. So I'm going to take, first and foremost. And now, this backwards pawn, I can land my knight right there if I wish. I can land my knight there with a tempo on this pawn. I think that's pretty good. And on the next move, I can start to basically defend the knight. I can put another pawn there, I can put a rook there, all those sorts of things, and ultimately try and play against one or two of his backwards pawns. He's also got an isolated pawn. I have an isolated pawn as well in the center of the board. So we'll see what happens, but possibly if this pawn gets traded off one of his pawns, you would be able to say that my pawn structure is better than his. He's got the bishop pair, so it's kind of a relatively balanced game. I'm lower on time than he is. Now with this move, I think he's giving me an opportunity to develop my bishop to an active square. And there I'd be threatening this move, which is nice. So that's my instinctive move here. If he then plays a move like that, I can play this, which is very, 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 very complicated. I'm going to play this. It's not actually probably as complicated as I think, because if he plays this, I simply take. And I believe everything there is working for me. If he plays it that way, again, I think I can take this. I think that might be a move that he's missed. Because if I take this, I've won a pawn, first and foremost. Then if he takes a bishop, I can take a rook, which is good for me. Then if he takes a knight, is that where it falls apart? I mean, I can then play this, pinning his knight. Say he defends the knight, I take, he comes here, and ultimately I play g6 and win the knight back. It's possible. Another possibility here, I might have to commit to it. Another possibility would be maybe take the knight. What happens if I take the knight? He takes back and then I play this, attacking the queen? I don't think so. I think I sort of have to commit now to this move, but I'm just going to double check this. You know, I know my time management is not nice. So yeah, you're absolutely right. My pawn structure is already better. I was saying it might be better in the end, but you're right. It's actually better now. That's true. Now, if I take the pawn, I'm just going to calculate this again. I'm up a pawn. If he then takes, what if he takes the bishop with the rook? Then I take the rook, and essentially I've gotten these two for these two, which is typically better. It's typically better not to do that, but I might have to do it at this point. I mean, I could try and save my bishop, but then I'm going to lose this pawn. It seems to me. I could attack the rook. Yeah, maybe not great. Let's do it. It will also open up his king a bit, so you know, and it was the original intent, so I think I have to sort of go along with it now. Attacking his queen is the main idea. Also attacking his rook. And I suppose also ruining the pawn structure more, opening his king more. So if we do get into an endgame and all the rest of the pieces get traded off the board, it should be a game that I can win at that point. So this would be an interesting move. I would take back and then he can take and we play on from there. That's what he does. I don't think there's anything else here for me to consider. I could also consider taking his knight, but then he takes my knight, I take here. How does that look? He's going to take the pawn on d5 at that point. I don't think it looks quite as good as just taking the rook. Material here is still even for the moment. He's now attacking this pawn with great fervor. And he's got some pieces lined up towards me. The thing is, though, can't I just take this now? Is that not just a knight? I don't think he has enough firepower to hurt me, so I'm going to take that knight. I'm going to take the knight. And yes, you take my pawn, but that was my isolated pawn anyway. In taking the pawn, I guess these pawns become stronger because it's easier for them to move forward, and then he has this big pawn majority, but is it worth a knight? Probably not. Probably not worth a knight. So how do I proceed now? Probably want to attack the queen and come after some of these pawns. So let's put a rook in the center of the board. It's very difficult to see any problem with a move like that. And again, trying to play relatively quickly. I'm still down 7 minutes on the clock, but I think my position is good. He comes back. Now, can I play this move? Attacking the queen again. If he takes, then I've got this check. No, I don't, because he can take. It's a nice thought, though. I might just do a rook lift. That might be a nice way to go, too. Let's lift a rook. For the moment, I think that's probably fine. Don't want to take forever. Again, analysis paralysis, that position is prime to analyze forever because there's a lot of options and I'm sure black's better here. And you want to choose the very best one. But the truth is, it's probably wiser for me just to make a move that is probably going to be good, and just move on, still having time on my clock for the more real critical moments where there is only one move that you can play. Okay, a4. I mean, a5 is a typical response here, but there's other options at the moment. So I can do stuff like this if I want. I can double my rooks. I could even actually bring my rook all the way across here and threaten this pawn. By the way, I don't know why I didn't see this earlier, but there's also this check. This is a nice check. Forcing a queen trade, I believe. If you play something like this, I've got this check. Why don't I play this one to start with? It seems like he's going to have to deal with that threat. I think that's what I'll do. That looks pretty good. Do I care if he plays a4? I don't think I care. I'm going to play this. Ooh. If I play this, he does this. Check. He moves here. I come back with check. Should be completely fine. I don't see big issue. Look at me. I'm getting into paralysis mode here again. This is ridiculous, isn't it? So this move looks really good though, because I attack the queen, and when the queen moves, I'm also attacking this square. So I might do it that way instead. Attack the queen, basically forcing a queen trade there, I think. It's annoying that I'm getting on top of this pawn though. Not really what I'd want to do. I'll do this move first, because this is a nice big threat. I can always come back here on the next move if I want, and we'll see how he responds. The clock is a piece. That is so true. That is so true. And I completely underestimate that piece much too often. All right, so now I need to be a bit careful. I'm going to go for the queen trade. And then I'm going to come back. Coming here would be a big mistake. Got to be careful. This move likely coming soon. This move is possible. This move is possible. I mean, this move is the most natural. Playing with tempo. 3 minutes. Yeah, maybe the queen trade wasn't great, because it's not going to be super easy to win the endgame, but I should still definitely be better. Okay, so he comes in there. Now I probably will play this move. Or maybe I'll play my knight here. I think that move makes a lot of sense. Let's play the knight here. This pawn's still defended. Considering coming here, blockading this pawn, maybe bringing a rook here, try and attack things. Okay, so I'll come here now. So he does have a very nice bishop, but it's aiming in the wrong direction. It's aiming in the wrong direction. I can always bring my knight back this way if I need to. But otherwise, my knight can come here and put pressure on things, or just, you know, it's got a lot of scope. It's got a lot of scope. Yep. Exactly. I should have enough material to win this one. Keep things simple and trade. That's good advice. Very good advice. No need to do anything drastic. Probably want to make sure I don't get back ranked at some point. Okay, so he moves his bishop back. This is an undefended pawn right now, so I'm going to keep things simple and attack it. Also supporting the movement of my knight to that square, which is nice. And from my knight from that square, we'll be putting pressure on this pawn. So a next move that might be nice would be to bring a rook here to put further pressure on this pawn, so that if my knight ever lands here, it does so with extra oomph. And again, the fact that he's got this isolated pawn, both of those are weaknesses, as well as the fact that he's down an exchange. And it's hard for him, even though he has this pawn mass in the center, including this passed pawn, it's hard for him to get those pawns going. Very hard for him to get those pawns going in a meaningful way. Get my king here. That will more or less do away with any back rank issues. Yeah, he's put the bishop back where it belongs. Both of the bishops, hey? But yeah, that's right. Both of the bishops are ready to go for the next game. He's got 10 minutes. So he can maybe think about some things, but yeah, trying to keep things simple. I think I can keep these things basically simple enough here. I think a very simple move here is just to go for this trade, attacking this. If he trades off one of the bishops, that should just help me. I can't see a reason why not do this, so happy to play this move with a threat against the bishop. And yeah, you're exactly right. We'll keep things simple. We'll trade them off. If a rook lands here, it lands with tempo. And it also lands with the ability to, another move that I could play would be to double the rooks up here, or maybe put a rook here. A rook here would threaten a nice little check and fork. So he moves away. This is a nice move anyway, actually, because it threatens the bishop. Another nice move is this. So there's a lot of possibilities here that are all really quite nice. I could even take this pawn. That's a nice move. Take the pawn, because if he takes back, then I can take this pawn as well. That's 2 pawns. I'm also attacking the bishop here. And when the bishop moves, you could almost win a 3rd pawn. Not quite. But, that's not really in keeping with keeping things simple. It'd be nice to play this move. That'd be a really nice move to play. But that's not going to happen because the bishop does do some work from where it is. So I think I like this move a lot. Attacking that bishop. Maybe getting this trade in. Another possibility here would be moving the knight away somewhere like this, which comes with tempo against the pawn. And then we can come over here. I think I like that even more. So we'll give this one a go. We'll come here. Attacking this pawn. And looking to come over here where we're putting pressure on the king side. Okay, so now that he's played this, I can choose one of these squares to go to. Probably going to choose this one because I want to be able to support my knight on either of these squares. I'm still putting pressure on this pawn right now, so he's going to have to take time, maybe with a move like that. Then this again is a threat. Another possibility though is just simply to come here where I attack the bishop and attack the pawn. If we get a trade, it should be fine, but I wonder if I'll play this move first. Will I play this move first? Well, he just comes here then, and then I have to come back, and I've sort of wasted time. So I'll come here. It should still be enough to win, but yeah, it might not be quick or easy. Okie doke. He moves back. Now I can simply take this. Can I simply take this, or is he going to pin me? If he pins me, I can come here. He can attack my rooks in a very annoying way, though. So I've got to be super careful about that, actually. Do have to be very careful. So if this and he comes here... Yeah, good point. How about this move then? This move looks good. Threatening a fork, as well as threatening this pawn. Continually putting pressure on this, and also hopefully not giving him any ideas in the meantime. I'm down to a minute though, so here he comes in with a very nice move, actually, winning an exchange back. Potentially, but then again, maybe not. So I'm going to take and give him this whole rook. Don't think we necessarily want to do that, do we? This isn't good. But I can also move away, thankfully, with a check. And then save myself. So that's kind of lucky. That is a lucky move, I'll admit. That was luck. Now, let's put some pressure over here. Oh gosh, this ain't going so well. This ain't so easy. I feel like you could have just taken on c3 to keep it simple. I think I missed that. Okay. Nevertheless, let's now come here. This looks like the way to go. Trying to get these trades happening. But no. Oh, the thing with taking on c3, I was afraid that he was going to play rook c8, rook c1, and then pin me down, pin my knight. So nevertheless, here we now are. Probably attack the bishop this way now. Attacking the bishop. We'll see where he goes. Comes here, so I thought he might do that, but can't I play this now? That would be one idea. I'll start with that. But maybe I'll come over here next. Alright, so he goes there. He's not threatening to take me. Meanwhile, I can actually play this move now if I want. Or this move. That could be nice. Further defending my knight at the same time. This move looks pretty good though. Although he can then play that, which is annoying. He doesn't have that option if I do it this way. Yeah, I like this move a lot. Because now, where does he go with the bishop? Here? That just runs into... Oh, it doesn't run into check, because his bishop's still annoying the crap out of me. Dang. Dang. Nevertheless, it's still okay. If he comes here, I guess I can attack him again. Or I can play this check, which wins a pawn. And even though he takes my rook, I then play this check and win his rook. So on the whole, okay, I think that's going to have to work. So let's do that. Check. We get this rook, having won a pawn. We'll win this rook with the tempo on this pawn. Hopefully that'll be enough to do it. Okay, so we come here. Now this is threatened. Hopefully that's enough, huh? But yes, I almost didn't find that. Thankfully I did in the end. Yeah, he has defended really quite well, I think. Now he's trying to trap my knight, which is a good idea. So I better do something about that. It's going to be hard to do though. If I come here... Ah, you know what? That doesn't work. I can take this. I'm pretty sure I can just take this. Again, tactics. You can't take because this appears on the board. A wild check fork appears on the board, and that should be lights out. I'll take that. I don't care about this pawn, obviously. I think now it's a simple game. Is this pawn going to be any danger to me is the only question that remains. And I think not. I think I just push. Although he pushes, I push again. It does have to be considered. It definitely has to be considered. So I'm going to start like this. Let's hit his bishop and get my king a little bit closer so that my king can participate in preventing the advance of his pawn. And then I should be right. Then I should be just fine. So here there's a nice check. Which could be useful. I think I'll play that. Actually, I'm not sure. I think here I'm just going to push my pass pawn. Should probably get my king up as well. Put more pressure on this piece and prevent this one from becoming super dangerous. Still definitely possible for me to actually screw this up. So if I just push, is it going to be enough? Now I could come here. After he takes, I can take with check and then win this. That should be fine. Let's do that. Threatening this. If I can take both of the pawns off the board and end up with a rook versus a bishop and have both of these pawns, then I will be fine. So now I'm going to come here. See where he goes. Probably going to come here. Prevent my rook from coming this way too. But the moment he gets off this diagonal is the moment my pawns become very dangerous again. I think you could have defended your pawn first. Not sure. I missed the chat at the time and now I'm not sure where you were talking about. But yeah, the other bishop would have made it more tricky, but both, yeah, should still be a win. Should definitely still be a win. And he still looks at this, it's still annoying for me actually. It's still annoying. No doubt, very annoying. Okay, especially with time, but I'm going to push. Ultimately, if I take this pawn, maybe I can get a queen at that point. So I'll probably defend my pawn that remains. I'll probably defend that remaining pawn, because that'll just make things a bit harder for him. You know, meanwhile, the strengths of my position remain. So I don't necessarily need to rush that one. But yeah, this is dragging on a lot longer than I thought it would, and a lot longer than I had planned or anticipated. Alright, now can I just simply take that? I would assume that I can just take that. Once he takes back, I'm definitely going to be quicker than him. So I'm going to take and just get a queen as quickly as I can. Okay, and now I can check. Okay, he's given up. There still would have been a few more moves there, but yeah, I think for a long while that game was in my favor. It just took a long time to actually play out to the very end. Oh, it looks like there's not enough players to play the last round. I think that's what's going on here. So I think it might just be all over. And on a score of 3 from 4, depending on what happens in this game, does that mean I might potentially even win? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I play this last game. Yeah, 1v1. Let's do a 1v1. What's your chess.com name? Yeah, let's do that. Let's have a look at the game you mentioned earlier as well. I'll get both of your chess.com names, I suppose. And we'll have a look at that game you mentioned earlier, and then we'll play a 1v1 game if there's no more games in this competition, which I don't think there is. The only remaining game going on has just finished. So yeah, I think it's all over. So it's on Light Chess. Okay, let's have a look at this. What I might do is open this up in a different window. Give me one moment. Minimize that one. And let's go here. All right, how's that looking? If I come here instead. All right, I think we've got your game loaded up now. Were you playing as black? Yeah, you were playing as black. All right, let's do that. Depressed Med Student, what's your username? We'll play a game first, and then we'll go through some analysis after that. I saw in the chat you played with a Nerdy Asian guy earlier on, and I saw in the chat he was complimenting you, so I'm worried. I am worried. But we'll give it a good go. If you're still there, let us know your name and we'll get into it. in the meantime, perhaps, we'll have a look at this game from Nerdy Asian Guy. All right, so where are we here? So the game starts with, very similar in English. The knights come out, e5 is played, and white starts to fianchetto the bishop with g3. Then c6 immediately played, anticipating bishop g2, which is now played. And d5. Yeah, that was the move that I really wanted to be able to play in my game, but I felt that with the move order played, in my game he had already played this move instead of this move. And because of that, he had pressure against this pawn. And because of that, I couldn't play d5 without losing the e5 pawn. And that's why in my game, I put the pawn here instead. But yeah, d5 is nice. Okay, cool. I've got your name here. So how do I copy that? All right, I'll put this analysis on pause, and we'll go back to chess.com and get this 1v1 happening. All right. What time control should we use? In your game, you could have played e4, d5. e4, d5. The Scandi. All right, hold up here for one moment. Let's try and get this happening. So let's play a 15-10. Do you want to play a 15-10? 10 is great. Let's do 10. Let's do a 10. 10-minute game. All right. Random sides. Let's do that. So you should be getting a challenge. No, what did it say? Oh, I have to formally exit from the tournament that I was in. Let me formally exit. I really thought that tournament was already finished. Oh no, the final game is ongoing. It's actually still ongoing. Let me bring you guys back so you can see what I'm looking at here. Change the scene back to chess.com. This is the final game in that tournament. So it looks like it's going to be won by Fiver Pash, who, with that win, I should still be winning. But anyway, I'm going to exit the tournament. I think my score's already finished. And let's play this game. So 10 minutes. Okay, the challenge is on. Here we go. I'm going to commentate, but it doesn't really matter. So e4, I'm going to play e5. Chess is a transparent game, so question is, are you going to be able to handle what I throw at you? Am I going to be able to handle what you throw at me? We've got a Roy Lopez. You're playing quickly. I like it. That's smart. That's smart. I'm going to develop in the don't know all the theory here by any stretch. I think I have to attack your bishop now. And in this position, I'm probably going to play relatively quickly, first and foremost. Standard moves. Castle, castle. Yeah, I think this is an uncomfortable position for me to play as black, but it's not necessarily too bad. I'll ask you what you want to do about that bishop. You're going to take? I'll take back. I probably would have been more afraid of you just coming back there and giving me questions about whether I wanted to play g5, potentially opening my whole king side. But as played, I'll probably here, I think here I'll come after your bishop. If you take my bishop, I'm going to take with my queen most likely. And I think threatening to take the bishop probably is pretty decent. So you take there with check. So I'm going to have to take, probably going to take with my queen, keep my pawns nicely intact. Attacks my rook, that's true. How do I want to deal with that? I'm going to deal with it like this. I'm going to attack your bishop like this, defended by my knight. And again, just see if I can try and get your bishop off the board is probably what I'm going to try and do. So in this position, how do I want to do this now? I'm going to pin the knight. I don't have to take the bishop yet, I don't believe. It's not like the bishop actually has anywhere where it can go. So I don't have to rush with this capture. That's what I'm thinking. And also I'm trying to be relatively quick, trying to keep up with you. Where are you from? Morocco. Cool, never been there. All right. So having a think here. Interesting. I think now I'm going to take your knight. You take back. I take. Pawn structure is a bit ruined. And now I'll take the bishop before it has a chance to escape. And here, I think I'm going to play this move on instinct, just trying to prevent your rook from coming in here and sitting on my what would otherwise have been a backwards pawn. Bit of a theme of today. I can see you're probably lining up to double rooks up here and go after this pawn. Does it make sense for me to play a move like this? I don't think so. You just double up anyway. And after I take, yeah, that would be bad. So probably I can double up myself. Where do I want to double up? Here or here? It's not clear exactly to me. I don't want to spend forever on it though, do I? The clock is a piece. I'll probably do it on the more active of the squares. Anything else I can try? Let's just do it here. Because I'm not sure if I come here, if I'm ever going to be able to actually move these other pawns out of the way. So I'll do this, and I think I'm relatively safe here. Unless I've overlooked something. If you play that move, I can't take, but... Yeah, good point. Very good point. Because I was going to play this, but I guess you've got this move as well. That's a very good point. Very good point. So what can I do? If you take... I think everything's still defended though, right? You take, I take... Take. Ultimately leaves me with an outside pass pawn that your king can't stop. So I think that's actually fine. I think that makes sense then that it's time to get the kings happening. I think that does make sense. Now what do I want to do? I'm not too sure. Again, definitely time is a factor. Time is a factor. It's not the only factor. I've still got 6 minutes and we're sort of getting into an endgame, so I should have enough time here. But what's my general plan? That's what I'm trying to work out here. What's my general plan? All right, I'm just going to play something of a waiting move to start with. And then probably get my king a bit active as well. I think that makes sense. Now you've got this move, true. That's true. What do I do here? My instinct could be wrong, but I'm going to actually get my king more active to start with. King activity definitely matters. I'll probably take with my king. Might be wrong, but we'll give it a go. Then you bring your king across. Okay. Probably play this move now, try and prevent this. By having a pawn there. And if you take, I can take back and reinstate that pawn. Late into the endgame, 16 pawns and 4 rooks on the board. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the king still steps across again. Interesting. Now, let's see here. I feel like this is better for me. I feel like it's better for me. It's hard for me to put my finger on exactly. Whether it actually is better for me, I'm not sure. Probably now play this one. Prevent this from happening. I, again, feel that it's better for me, but I can't say for sure whether it's better for me. So the threat is if I move away that you take twice, which I don't want to allow. So I will have to take that and then move back most likely. Probably move back. I'll move straight back. Not really a calculated move, just a... You hate your pawn structure? Yeah. Pawn structure? Yeah, I guess so. I guess my pawn structure is a bit better. But you've got nice... Your central pawns are good. The pawns on e4 and d4 seem nice. And I think, though, I might be wrong about this, but I think I'm going to switch my rooks over to the c file, or at least one of them, because this pawn's nicely defended already by a pawn, and your both rooks are sort of tied up trying to attack a pawn that's itself already defended. So I'm going to bring both my rooks to this C file and own the open C file, which is probably better than the semi-open A file. My only sort of worry before was this idea of B3, which didn't work at the time, I don't think. It certainly doesn't work now because of ideas like this. But now I can even get my rook up into the 7th rank, which is almost always desirable. What's going to be the follow-up there, though, it's not clear. Another option would be maybe to come here. And is this pawn just doomed? In that case, maybe. I think I'll start by coming to the 7th rank. Sorry, the 2nd rank. You know, look at the pawn first and foremost, and maybe my other rook can come out here and put pressure on b4. That's That's basically the thought process for me at the moment. Rook c7, principled. Thank you. I can be a very principled player, maybe sometimes to a fault. Overlooking concrete considerations in favor of principled play, and that might also be one of the reasons why I find it difficult to handle gambit lines. Because, in principle, you want to try and maintain material, although, of course, there's the balance between material and piece activity. But yeah, the king here is actually cut off. Actually only has one square to go to. I don't think there's any way for me to create a mating threat just yet. But the king's a bit caught currently. The rook here is a little bit out of the game. Rook a1, possibly an idea, but then again, this pawn is also very vulnerable. And if I happen to win both of these pawns, then the B and A pawns become very strong. So this has been an interesting game in the sense that has seemed very close, and it has seemed very well balanced and not easy. And at a certain point in time, I thought I was worse. I thought that you were actually going to be able to win my pawn, which didn't happen. Okay, so here I can take this pawn, which I think is what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to take this pawn. I'm still pressuring h2. And I'm also threatening to get my other rook up here. Alright, so now it's true. If we trade, you defend this pawn, but you also give this pawn up. I think that's going to be perfectly fine for me. I could also play this move to pin your rook. But if you take, I take back. No, I think I would rather play take. I could play this check as well. That's probably even at least as good. This check, you move somewhere and I take that. I think I actually prefer that. This check, I'm defended here. And when you move, I'll take the pawn and I'll be threatening to come back here potentially. So yeah, that's probably the right square to use. But I take this pawn, now I'm threatening this pawn. And what, I've got two extra pawns. And in this position, they should be decisive. So here I'm just going to move up. That's an instinctive move. Instinctive, haven't calculated everything there, but I think it's an instinctive move to have to play. Now there's a question of where I want to put my rook. Here or here? It's not an easy question for me to answer with a minute on the board. I'm going to go here because I want my two pawns to both have the ability to march forward. Ooh, gambits for the ones who truly feel the principles. Like it. I like it. I've got a lot to learn here. This is going to be great. All right, so what have we got here? The king moves to the side. Now, how do I proceed? I can actually put my rook here, so at least it's defended by a pawn. And it defends this pawn. So I feel my position here is very safe. I feel everything is safe. It's very hard for a depressed med student to create counterplay here. Very hard to create counterplay. So I think if I'm patient, things should go my way. We might approach some sort of a zugzwang if I do things correctly. Like, what if I come here now? Pressurizing this pawn. For example. Yeah, so the rook has to sort of come back. But I think now I can push these pawns. And the fact that there's threats on different sides of the board makes things difficult. The king comes forward, but my rook is defended. My rook is very well defended here. I could also advance my rook now. And this pawn is essentially a goner. I think that's what I'm going to do. But wait, I'm not too sure. No, I'm going to do this instead. I calculated something there that I didn't love quite as much. That's a nice move. That's a very nice move. Very nice move indeed. Very nice move. Let's come here. I might be losing now. I probably am losing now. What, whoa. What, whoa. Okay. This is not good. Definitely not good. Oh, I would have thought you would have got a queen there first. Yeah, but I'm out of time anyway. So well done. Yeah, you did it. Very well done. I think, you know, of course, with more time, you know, this is a classic thing you'll hear me say is that, yeah, very good game. Yeah, well done. Oh, what happened to my light? You guys can barely see me. But no, you weren't lucky. I think what happened was I sort of overlooked this idea that you were going to undermine the defense of my rook at this point here. I think I'm probably still better, but what move should I have played here instead? What move shall I have played? I mean, maybe I should have just come back. It's another instinct that I have. Just come back, and even if you take, you know, my pawns remain strong, and when you play this, I can prevent you from getting a queen. But also, maybe on the move before, you know, here, at this point, I was thinking maybe I should play this and attack that. I guess the reason I didn't do that, I sort of thought you were going to come here, and after I take, you take. I should have done that. That would have probably been easier for me to convert. But unfortunately for me, A, I took too long, and B, yeah, you found a really nice move. And when did it all go wrong for me? Because it was here. So I had to do something now to prevent you from getting a queen. I had to just bring my rook back, I think. Bring the rook back, and you can't actually get the queen. These two pawns remain strong. So that's a learning point for me as well. But yeah, very well done. Very nice stuff. So, Nerdy Asian Guy, I think, let me put a light on because I can barely see myself. Just give me one sec. Yeah, good game. Very good game. Very good game. So, Nerdy Asian Guy, let's have a look at your game. Improve on. Okay, I mean, I'll give you what I think. Nerdy Asian Guy can give you thoughts as well. Personally, I think this was all really good. Whoops. I think this was all really good. What moves I thought, you know, in this position here, where you traded the bishop for the knight, I think that made things a little bit easy for me, in the sense that, like, it's not a losing move, obviously. I mean, you won the game. But it made it easy for me, like, what am I going to do? Of course I have to take back. It's an easy decision. I think maybe coming back here might be practically better, because then I have to decide, like, do I want to play this move, which is probably what I would do. And, you know, the game goes on, but you maintain tension, basically, is the principle, maintaining tension. Taking allows me to improve my bishop from e7 to f6. And it gives me a move that's easy to do. What else did I think about the game? I think in general, in the Roy Lopez, the way you played it was good. Although I believe normally c3 gets played somewhere along the line so that the bishop can retreat. Let's see. Should have taken on c6 after a6. Let's see. Where is that? A6. Play the exchange, you think, huh? Bishop takes c6 is winning. 4-knight Spanish, bishop takes 6 is winning. You're talking about here? Are you talking here? In this position? Bishop takes c6? Yeah, I mean, there's so much theory in the Ruy Lopez. But I guess, other than opening theory, what else did I feel about this game? That move was probably a waste of time. This move, bishop d5, was probably not advised because of the fact that I could just push your bishop back. And you can see the eval bar goes a bit more in my favor now because I've encroached on your position a bit and you didn't actually really achieve anything there. You could say you weakened my d6 pawn a little bit, but I'm not sure that that was really worth it. Probably, I think what I would have done in this position here would be to continue development. Maybe a queen move of some kind, connecting the rooks. Something very simple like that is what I would have thought. But yeah, that move just gave me an extra tempo, basically. And also, when I came up here with bishop g4, this idea of c3 now, I didn't like that much at all. I think, that allowed me to ruin your pawn structure and then win the bishop. So I think the idea when you played c3 was you wanted to try and save your bishop, but concretely it just didn't work. It was too slow. So I think in this position, although it's already hard to prevent, the losing of this knight, isn't it? So, again, that goes to show that this move was probably the big mistake from a practical perspective. If you didn't want to play a developing move like this, which, by the way, automatically gets out of this pin, there's no more any pin here. Another idea potentially could have probably been to play h3 here. So I think both of those moves would have been better than this bishop d5 idea that you did play. Although you attacked my rook, there was too many ways for me to deal with it. Not only is there c6, I mean, I could have also potentially played stuff like this, which might not be as good, but it's still perfectly good. Or I could move my rook out of the way. Like, it made a threat, but I could have dealt with that threat in many ways. Nerdy Asian guy says, no, I liked bishop d5. Bishop d5, c6, b4. Bishop d5, c6, and b4. That's true. That's true. I didn't think about that. What about, I guess, so takes. And in this position, probably either push the pawn. Earlier, yep, okay. But yeah, in this position, I think it was a wasted tempo. And it allowed me to pin the knight, which ruined the pawn structure. And, from here, I'm probably better. So, the other thing that turned out to be the case was that doubling your rooks on this file was just the wrong plan to go for. Because I double as well. And although you do put pressure on this pawn and I can't take it, I push forward. And that's when I thought maybe you can push forward here as well. And I can't take because, again, you win my rook. And I can't push forward because you win the pawn. But I realize I can just leave everything as it is. And ultimately, we go into an endgame that's very similar to what we had in the game, where, whatever, I play something like this, and you bring your king forward, I bring my king forward, and ultimately, my rooks will have mobility. Your rooks are maybe on the wrong file, so maybe that was not quite advised. But yeah, look, you see the position's equal. Like, it's not like I can give you lots of advice. And in the end, you won the game. Albeit on time. I think, the end game is probably where maybe I could give some advice. So king activity matters a lot. Again, maintaining tension can be very important. So if you weren't going to take this pawn, which allowed me to get my king further into the action, what else could I have done? Hang on. It's okay, mistakes happen. Why not a takes b3? Tunnel vision wanted to attack the rook, yeah. Why not a takes b3? Let me go back. You talking about here? A takes b3? A takes b3, rook takes rook. Ooh, but I suppose after rook takes rook, rook takes rook, there is in fact b2. There is in fact b2. How about that, huh? b2. And the rook can't get back. So that's also an interesting idea that I didn't see during the game. Yeah, nice. Cool. Thank you for that. I didn't know that one. But yeah, moving forward through the rest of the game, my king got active and I just started working on prophylaxis. Like, I knew you wanted to play this move, so I put a stop to it. Perhaps my position is just already better. I think that was good, getting your pawns in the center. But the fact that I could move my rooks onto the open file, yeah, your position was just worse already by this point in time. Maybe here I should have taken h2 also. I think that also probably would have been maybe a simpler way to do things, creating a whole, like, another problem for you. One there and one here. So in hindsight, maybe I should have done that instead of doing this move, even if objectively they're both good. Now all my focus is really on this side of the board rather than having two separate threats. So that's something for me to work on. But yeah, very nice idea here. I don't know, nerdy Asian guy, is there anything better than rook c8 here? Yeah, they were passive. Anything better than rook c8? Unfortunately, probably not, huh? Like, I can't just push this, can I? You take. Maybe I can. Maybe that would have been fine too, actually, yeah. Yeah, I should have just... There's a rule, I suppose, if you're in the end game, push the passed pawn. Anything that works is good enough. Yeah, exactly. All right. Let's have a real quick look at this game. Yeah, but thanks for the game. Good game. Well done. Well deserved. Very well deserved. But back to this game. So we had takes in the center. Oh, I better change the scene so you can see what I'm looking at. And after this, we'll have to call it a day. So d5, pushing the pawn up to e4. Yeah, similar to the game I played. And e3, yeah, that very passive move, e3. Pinning the knight. I think I played that in my game too, getting rid of this knight, and then in my game they played a3 and I traded the bishop for the knight, but here the queen comes out. You're going to take the knight or play knight c6 makes a lot of sense, defending the bishop. Okay, now that the knight is unpinned, the d4 pawn is under attack, is it not? a5 is played. But what about this now? Doesn't that win a pawn? What am I missing? You take there. No, it doesn't win a pawn at all. Queen takes. Queen takes. Takes. And then there's this pawn. So I think I just hallucinated that one. So a5 makes sense. a4. b5. Sorry, h5. Thank you so much. I'm pleased to explain the moves as best as I can. Also, Depressed Med Student, I'm not sure if you heard earlier, but I do have some videos coming out soon on my YouTube where I'm sitting playing games and sitting alongside Australia's strongest grandmaster, Anton Smirnov, and he explains the moves as well. And, I explain my thoughts, and then he explains what he was thinking about. So, subscribe to the YouTube channel and you'll see that when it comes out. Just editing them together at the moment. But that's kind of useful. So, Nerdy Asian Guy. What else have we got here? The night came out. Do you know what? To be honest, I don't think I've got enough energy to really do this analysis and give it justice at this point. So I might do it next time. I might use this as an opportunity to learn. Like, I'll look at this game properly and in depth and come back to it next time with my actual thoughts. And I know you've already subscribed, so the next video I put out, I'll have a look at this game properly. But is there anything you wanted to highlight in this game? I'll have a quick look at it. It looks scary for white, that's for sure. A little bit less scary now. Yeah, I mean, look at your king. You don't care at all, huh? Let your king hang out in the center of the board. Fearless play. I'll do a proper analysis in future. Okay. Let's see. It's it's only a 25 move game, but I'm going really quickly through a lot of detail here. What's that move? Bishop F5. Ah, that's a nice move. That's a really nice move. So the idea with that move is if queen takes, then there's this nice check, taking advantage of the queen, the pin, to pick the queen up. So that was a nice move. It does allow the pawn to take, though. What happens if pawn takes? If pawn takes, I suppose there's still the same check, right? Exactly the same idea. You're still forking the queen, so really nicely spotted move, that one. Yeah, bishop f5, very nice. Very nice. Well, come back next time. I'm probably going to stream at the same times, a few times a week. Today being Sunday, I'm also doing Thursday and Saturday. So that's how I'm going to do it for the moment. So I'll be gone for a few days, but I'll be back on Thursday at the same time. And then Saturday and Sunday again. So we'll keep streaming. And I want to keep pushing towards 1800, although today I lost a bunch of rating points. Not the least of which because of our friend, Depressed Med Student, who managed to take a few points off me there. So I'm down to 1727, but it doesn't necessarily matter. Because it's about improving, and eventually your ratings will reflect your level. Yeah, I hope you do. I hope you do have time to pass by. I'd love to play a game with you, and then we could commentate it as well and try and learn something from that. But keep an eye out. Oh, mate, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And keep your eyes peeled. I'll have some good stuff coming up soon. So I hope you guys stay well. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for the game. And yeah, really well done. Well deserved. I enjoyed it as well. You too. Take care. We'll catch you next time. I'll be back in a few days' time on Thursday. Take care. See you then.